This week, you'll have not one but two opportunities to hear the guzheng, a beautiful and ancient instrument played by a celebrated virtuoso. Wu Fei is in Winnipeg to perform as part of the Winnipeg New Music Festival tomorrow with a solo recital presented by Virtuosi Concerts on Thursday evening. She's first joined me in the Classic 107 studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Simon. Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for being here. And thank you for bringing your instrument with you. It's beautiful, and I have to admit, it's much larger than I thought it would be.
Slightly taller than me, actually, when it stands up.
Now, Faye, I'm wondering, would you mind describing for the listeners the instrument that's in front of you?
Yes, it is called the guzheng. Gu literally means ancient. Zheng is zither. So the instrument is it's kind of like a flat harp. It sits on a stand, and it's about 1.65 meter in length. It's not so wide, but it's really long. It has 21 strings and covers 4 octaves from low D to high D.
Now, it is a beautiful instrument that is here. It is ornate, but in a sort of almost like understated fashion. It's a beautiful rosewood and, like you say, 21 strings. Tell us more about, you were just sort of explaining the kind of breaking down the root of the word, guzheng, ancient zither. How ancient is the instrument? It
is at least more than 2,600 years. There's no architectural, archaeological actual support document to say really which year, which century it was invented. However, it had been recorded, found in text that poets has been written about the sound of it and enjoying playing it, and the notation, at least 2,200 years. It was actually very popular at 2,200 years ago at the Qin Dynasty. So it's like a national instrument back then. So you can imagine you got to go up another 400 years before it was invented, before it became the national instrument.
Yeah.
So it's quite old.
Now, I'm curious, when did you start playing the guzheng?
I started when I was 5.
And what spurred you to start playing the instrument? Was someone in the family playing it? Did you just see it? Did you hear it? Why take to this instrument?
First of all, it wasn't my choice. It's probably kind of a typical Chinese child that at a very young age, not really having much memory when it was already chosen for you. My father is a musician. He plays the sanxiar, which is the fretless 3-string Chinese lute. Actually came from Silk Road, from Central Asia. But he's really a wonderful musician, and he wanted me to also to play music. And long story short, and finally China was at the time that was opening up, opportunities were returned, and they found a very big guzheng in the manufacturer, in the garage, because the manufacturer was stopped for, 10, 20 years because the political chaos in the country. So nothing was produced. So they could have just found whatever that was still available laying around in the garage. So the big boat was there. And they hauled it back home.
And did you immediately take to the instrument? Did you think this is my voice, or was it more just kind of getting to know each other over time, and all of a sudden you realized this could be a relationship? There's something here.
Oh my goodness, Simon! It took me about 20 years to stop that. I'm sure I even don't remember I just remembered quite a hard childhood, because as I used to teach guzheng and piano, and it's just witnessing, kids, they always like it at the beginning, and then it's painful and torture when they have to sit down and practice. So it took me a long time to actually now taking it as my life partner.
You've certainly found your voice with the instrument. You studied at the Chinese Conservatory of Music before moving to Oakland, California, where you earned a master's in music composition from Mills College. Home is now Nashville, Tennessee, right? You're sporting your nice boots with your outfit this morning. What took you to the Music City?
Oh, I had friends there. I was living all over the States, and I play big string. So I started going to Nashville to do studio recordings with friends like Abigail Washburn and
Great banjo player. You
banjo,
recorded
and
together.
she's
Yeah.
also married to Bela Fleck, and Bela, I mean, he's just one of the most amazing banjo players. So, and also I knew at the time, coming from the traditional and classical conservatory training, American folk music and bluegrass was actually quite foreign to me in my hearing. It was almost blank. So I just kept going to places where I felt I could learn something. That culture of playing music fascinated me, and that region at the time I hadn't lived there, so that drew me there. And I just felt like, hey, it's the town of famous pickers. I'm a picker.
What have you discovered in spending time in Nashville and discovering this music? I mean, a lot of times we talk about cross-cultural music, right? I mean, it sort of becomes a catch-all term. But I mean, you're immersed in it. You're living it. You're playing alongside Abigail and her banjo. Are there more similarities than differences? I mean, are pickers pickers, or what have you kind of taken from these types of relationships?
I find is cross-cultural. I would say it depends. I hadn't really felt. I mean, besides the songs and the repertoire, the language that are different or tonality, but how we pick. I mean, different picking technology. I mean, technique, because one is held this way vertically,
upright,
one is horizontally. So the physical movement on the fingers would be different. But other than that, actually, those are, once you are friends, it's kind of like when you become friends, you don't almost see like, oh, how different.
Yeah.
But I did really enjoy learning from their form of how they transition and how they harmonizing. Because I came from a different culture and, singing Bach's or Brahms. And it's very different. And then how naturally they actually don't need a score. And then just like in their head, I was like, how do they do that so naturally and so accurately? I mean, we have to kind of rehearse a bunch to nail that vibe and before it sound naturally. So I wanted to just kind of train myself to, boost my hearing and just hit that bitch. Cover 1 ear or two.
If you're just tuning in, I'm chatting with guzheng player and vocalist and composer Wu Fei. We were just chatting a little bit about her upbringing and coming to the instrument and now living in Nashville. It is an instrument that has really taken you around the world, from the Forbidden City Concert Hall in your hometown in Beijing to the North Sea Festival in the Netherlands, the Madama Guitar Festival in Italy, and now the New Music Festival in Winnipeg. You really are an ambassador for the arts, Fei. And I'm curious, why is it so important for you to share this instrument and your voice with the world?
Oh, wow. Why is it so important? I love what I do. I love meeting new friends and people. And that I'm a single child, so it was quite hard in my upbringing. I never really understood the word collaboration until I started meeting people from traveling. That was, every time I go somewhere new, that I meet new people, new friends, and their story inspired me. Instead of, I'm going to collect some songs, I'm going to, nail this next record. It just, so that experience, I mean, of course, it makes it easier when I play concerts, and then that, of course, it's costly if you just have to pay your money or own to. So, and I often get to meet really amazing folks so this is a learning a journey that's so much joy that gives me. So that's important.
Well, so excited for you to bring in a little bit of that joy. Let's talk about your concerts that are happening back-to-back nights. The first is as part of the Winnipeg New Music Festival. Their concerts Dialogues coming up tomorrow. This is a work that is titled Hello Gold Mountain. It's a work described as a requiem for lost possibilities. Could you tell us more about the inspiration behind this work?
It's also a long story. It's inspired by the real stories of Jewish refugees during Second War fleeing from Europe to Shanghai. That's the only place pretty much in the whole world that let them in. So why this part of history? It can go back to about 16 years ago when I first time discovered this part of history. And it was from a documentary in the U.S. that I checked out from the public library. It was called the Shanghai Ghetto. And at the time, I didn't understand what ghetto mean at all. But it looked fascinating. So I watched it. So of course, I had to use a whole box of tissue to wipe my tears. And I was really shocked that no one had ever taught us. It's such a kind of they lived there for 10 years and then thousands of thousands, at least if it's not 30,000, it's somewhere close to that number. And the U.S. school, nothing mentioned about it, and not in China. But when I was moved, I still never thought, okay, one day I'm going to write a big piece about it. So throughout 10 some plus years, so I ended up met my husband, who's a South African Jew who went to China, and then our matchmaker was this girl. Her grandparents also was a German Jew that fled to Shanghai. So there was all those cross paths that from just knowing the history, being moved and touched and wanting to know more, to be actually family related. And now I have 2 children. So all these things that led to when I moved back to the States from China with my husband and our children, and I wanted to do more. As a working mother, it was hard. So all these things, and then at that moment, the U.S. started going crazy. It was 2017, something like that.
The work was first premiered in 2019 for Ensemble, then orchestrated a few years later. It brings together guzheng and oud, played by Shanir Blumenkranz, with whom you originally collaborated on the work. He's back in town to perform with the Winnipeg New Music Festival. How does it feel to reunite with Shanir and perform this work again?
Playing with Shanir, I've known him since 13 years. When we were living in Brooklyn. It's always very magical playing with him. And we don't even see each other that much, but it's like the kind of friend that we just communicate on the instrument. As soon as I play something, he knows where to uplift me, and then it's just magical. So it's just amazing.
So it's going to be a very moving show indeed. Again, that's WNMF4 Dialogues that takes place tomorrow at the Centennial Concert Hall. You follow that up with a solo recital presented by Virtuosi Concerts, featuring more of your original works and improvisations alongside traditional repertoire, folk songs, and Chinese opera. Can you tell us more about how you crafted this program, Fei? I mean, it really sounds like you're spanning centuries here. It's sort of like old meets new, right? And brand new in improvisations.
It's my whole life. It's this one concert. It's I want to share and celebrate all this richness of music, culture, and storytelling and different forms. Man, just try to get a couple of thousand years of material one night. I will do my best. Yes, it's very exciting. It's all the love that I had from childhood that I, at the time, didn't realize how rich everything was until I had to, become a professional musician to do things and to reconnect to all these things that actually nurtured me. And then it just sits in the back of my head. It's just my upbringing, my childhood. And no one, even in China, a lot of people don't even know about these old forms that's so fun, and how stories actually, how similar even people from the ancient time do now, and how different, and why our aesthetics is the way now. Maybe it's a little too manufactured versus maybe, 2,000 years ago was still quite open. Why have our perspective has shaped this way? So, that's how I want to actually to help myself to have fun and to communicate with people that, maybe we're not as advanced as we always thought we are. Or with advanced technologies, maybe our other sense have been boxed up.
It sounds like it's going to be a very enlightening program, a really fascinating program. And we've got you here in Studio Fei. And I'm wondering, would you treat us to a piece of music? What are we going to hear?
Oh, wow. It's hard. I would like to play a classical piece from the Shandong province, from the school of Shandong, which was where Confucius was born. And then I'll sing something like a tune from my home city, Beijing region. That's it's really fun, and like between opera and folk song. It was the spoken and sing, a way of telling stories. Yeah.
Live in the Classic 107 studio, this is Wu Fei and her guzheng. live in the Classic 107 studio. That was Wu Fei with just a beautiful and mesmerizing and wonderful performance. Wu Fei, enjoy your time here in Winnipeg, and thank you, Fei, for taking the time to join us this morning and share your story and your beautiful instrument. Lovely to have you.
Thank you, Simon.